Back to another Maya tutorial. This time we're in Maya 2017 and we're going to take a look at starting to model a low poly tree for a 3D environment. So to begin with, make sure your menu set is set to modeling and your shelf is set to polygons, and I'm also going to go to shading and then wireframe on shaded, just so you can see all of my divisions a bit easier. Now I've started by putting in a cylinder here, and you can see I've got the default number of subdivisions, which is 20. That's way too high for a low poly tree, so we can select that, go over to our channel box. If it's not open, you can either click on this vertical tab on the right, or you've got the channel box and layer editor icon up here in the top right corner. In the channel box, just scroll down, go to inputs and then polycylinder 1, which is the name of my object. Click on that, scroll down a bit further and you can change subdivisions axis from 20 down to 8. 8 is a good number to start with. It's low, it's divisible by 2 and 4 as well, so we can cut it in half and then quarters quite easily. So now I want this to be like a tree trunk, so I'm going to select the whole bottom of my tree. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go into edge mode and double click on one of the bottom edges to select all of them. Go to my scale tool and I'm going to scale all of that out slightly. Okay, now I can select this in object mode, so right click, go to object mode, and I'm going to duplicate that. So Command D if you're on a Mac, or Control D if you're on a PC. And then we can move and scale that down, make it slightly smaller. And I'm also going to rotate, and I want to position this so it's like a Y shape. I want to try and make a tree that splits into two. So I might need to scale that down a bit more, about there, and duplicate that again, Command D or Control D, and rotate around. Don't worry too much about getting everything perfectly symmetrical. It's a tree, it's not going to be a bit of architecture or anything like that. And make sure you've left a gap in the middle here. You don't want these overlapping, you want to have a visible gap there. Okay, now I want to delete the faces on the bottom of each of these. So I'm just going to right click and I'm just going to quickly go into face mode and just delete all of these. Be careful not to delete any of the side faces on your cylinder or your potential branch. Let's just go to the others, so right click, face mode, and delete those. And then finally the very bottom, or the tree stump if you like, right click, face mode. And a quick tip, if you wanted to select all of these, you could just highlight the whole top and then hold Control to deselect the ones you don't want, and then delete all of those in one go. Okay, now I'm going to go back to object mode and I'm going to select all three objects, and I'm going to go to mesh and combine to turn it into one piece. I now want to have a look at my two branches at the top. I need to add a couple of divisions, so I'm going to go to my mesh tools, insert edge loop, and I want to click and hold the mouse button down on one of these edges here, and I just want to drop that about there, so when I move these edges it doesn't affect the rest of the branch. Same on the other side, so click and hold the mouse button down, drag that where you want it, and then just drop it about there. Okay, we can maybe move these a bit closer, so I'm just going to go to my move tool, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to vertex mode, and I'm going to highlight the whole bottom of that and just move it a bit closer. The same on the other side, a bit closer again, and then select these two vertices that are right in the middle here. Be careful not to select too many, okay, so don't get too carried away by highlighting a big area. just select the ones you want. If it helps, press 4 for wireframe, and you can quickly see exactly what you're selecting, and then 5 to go back to shaded. Now go to Edit Mesh and then Merge, and you can merge those two. We want to do the same with the next two over here. So I'm going to select one at a time this time. So select one, hold Shift and then select the other. Edit Mesh, Merge. Now I'm going to select in Edge Mode just this edge here. Go to Extrude and then Global Mode, and I'm going to extrude this down and just to the right a bit. Try not to overlap anything, just to the right a small amount. And then we're going to go to Mesh Tools, Target Weld. And that works in both edge and vertex mode, but this time in edge mode I'm just going to click and drag this edge onto the one next to it. Okay, we can tidy this up a bit now by going to the Move tool and then right click, Vertex Mode. Let's just select this vertex here and we can move it across. And let's just move it out a bit. Okay, we can also adjust the one at the top here as well, just above it, to make it a little bit more evenly spaced. Something like that. These two on the sides we can move across as well. Try and keep your spacing as even as you can. Okay, the same on the right. Let's bring it over to the middle a bit more and also out. Now I'm going to select in edge mode this one here and hold Shift and the one on the other side just over there. Go to Extrude, click on the global button and extrude both down. And I'm going to use my Target Weld tool again, so Mesh Tools, Target Weld, and I'm going to go from this one to this one and the same on the other side. Okay, finally I'm going to right click, go into edge mode, and I'm going to select, make sure you go to your select tool just to turn your Target Weld tool off. I'll select this edge here and also holding Shift, the one on the other side, go to Extrude, Global, and I'm going to extrude down. Try not to leave it exactly where you want it. It kind of makes sense to leave it there at first, but if you do, you'll never know if these two vertices are merged together until it's too late. So either stop it slightly short or go too far. Okay, so I'm just going to go a little bit too far to begin with, so I know I can quickly see and I know they're not merged. Okay, I'm now going to use my Target Weld tool again, so Mesh Tools, Target Weld. This time I'm going to right click and go into Vertex Mode, and now because I can see there's a gap, I can drag this one below to the one just there. Same on the other side. I can see there's a gap, so I can click and drag one onto the other. Okay, let's just try and tidy this up a bit more. So I'm going to go to my Move tool and still in Vertex Mode. Let's just try and make this look a bit more rounded. Let's try and make these a bit more evenly spaced. Okay, you might have to keep rotating round. Let's just bring this one across to the right and the same on the other side. Something like that. You can be quite rough. It's a low poly tree, it's not a character's face or anything like that, so have a bit of fun with it. Finally, go into edge mode and we can select all four at the bottom here. Go to Extrude, Global Mode, and extrude down. Again, don't go right through, don't overlap anything, leave it slightly short. And then we can use Target Weld tool one last time. So Mesh Tools, Target Weld, and we can try and merge all of these together. So click and drag one down there, the next one, and just work your way around. Okay, if you need to adjust any of the vertices, you can. So I need to adjust some of these a bit more. It's not perfect here, so let's just go to vertex mode, and I'm just going to quickly move some of these around, something like that. Try and keep everything evenly spaced if you can. It just makes it look a little bit tidier, and it's a bit easier for you later on to identify if there's any errors. I'm just going to bring this top one up. Something like that. Now you can see I've only done half the tree, so you can always rewind this part of the tutorial and watch it again to do the other side. And finally, I just want to show you how to actually extrude another branch out of this. So let's just make this a bit longer. I'm going to select all of these vertices and just give myself a bit more space. Something like that. We can even scale it to make it slightly smaller because it's longer now. And I'm going to go to my mesh tools, and this time multi-cut. And what I want to do is try and basically cut a new set of edges or faces into this. And with the multi-cut tool, you can see without me even pressing anything on the mouse, it highlights edges as well as vertices, and it starts drawing these edges out without even clicking on anything. So make sure you actually click and you hold the mouse button down, kind of like the edge loop tool, and then just drag and drop that where you want it. And I'm just going to draw a really basic shape like that. And you'll see at the end, if I just zoom in a bit closer, rather than clicking on the exact vertex, it's sometimes easier to click away from it and drag it down, and you can see it says close just below my tool. When it does, you can release the mouse and press enter. And from there, I want to actually draw around from this vertex right the way around, and then meet it on the other side on here. So I'm just going to click on the edge, drag it down to the vertex, you'll feel it snap, and press enter. And the same here. And by doing this, you actually make sure everything is still quads. Okay, again, I'm being quite rough. I'm not looking at exactly where the vertex is going. It's not going to be exactly the middle of a particular edge or anything. And finally, click and we can drag and make that snap on this vertex here. Okay, when it snaps, you can press enter. Okay, I'm just going to go to my select tool to actually turn that multi-cut tool off. Now, if we have a look at this area here, we've actually got something we need to do next. It's got 6 edges, and ideally, I want to keep everything as 8 for this model, and I'll explain why in a minute. So I'm now going to go to my mesh tools, insert edge loop, and I'm going to click and drag somewhere in the middle and just drop another edge in the middle there. So now I've actually got 8. Okay. I'm going to go to vertex mode and my move tool, and I'm just going to try and shuffle these around a bit more to make them look a bit more rounded. I'm actually going to use the middle of the move tool, and I'm going to keep rotating around to make sure I'm moving it in the right area. Now usually I say don't use the middle of the move tool, but if you're a bit more experienced, give it a try. So we end up with something like that. We can adjust them later on if we need to. I'm now going to select these faces. So right click, face mode, hold shift to select those 4, extrude, click on global, and because we're kind of at an odd angle here, I am going to use the middle of the move tool again. Move it out a bit, but do rotate around. Make sure it's going in the right direction for you. I'm going to scale this down from the middle of the scale tool. and then I'm going to extrude again. Click on global so they all go together in the direction you're actually moving them, and then let's scale that down one last time. And if you need to move it, you can. And finally, I'm going to select all the edges around the end here, and I'm just going to scale that down. So double click to select those edges, scale them down, and finish off with something like that. It's the very basic tree. If you need to move any edges around, you can. Just double click to select all the way around, or hold shift and select one by one. And the reason I wanted to keep everything as 8 divisions for each branch is so now you could actually duplicate this entire model, scale it down, and merge it on any branch that you've already made. Okay, you've got 8 divisions, so it will fit perfectly. Give it a go. Try and keep all the divisions organised. Practice using these tools. They're crucial if you really want to get into 3D modelling.